Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. I hope you all are doing great. In today's video, I'm going to be talking all things preschool, and I am so excited because I'm going to kind of walk down memory lane along with you guys. We're going to go back probably 5 years. I think it's 5 years. Yes, it has been. Wow. To my first homeschooling experience when it came to looking for preschool type things, the curriculum we used, to just everything that we did when it came to preschool. So we're going to be talking about what I did with my firstborn, what we did with my second, and then talking a little bit about where my kind of mindset is right now and some things that I'm thinking about using. I'm pretty sure I have my mindset on what we're using for my up and coming preschooler. But I do hope you guys enjoy today's video. This is one I've been looking forward to filming for a while, because I honestly just like reflecting on our past school years and remembering all those sweet, sweet memories, because the preschool season and the preschool stage is just so fun. I love it. Anyway, with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Going back to being a new mama to a 2-something and 3-year-old, I was very intentional and just so excited about starting homeschooling. So I got all the learning placemats. I've talked about them before on my channel, but we were at a very, very young age learning all of our shapes and colors. Every time that me and my little tiny baby, I feel like little tiny, sat down together, we were learning shapes and we were learning numbers and the alphabet, and I was just very intentional with pouring all of my kind of, I guess, space and energy into my firstborn, because again, he was my only child at the time, and so it was so fun. And I just get so excited talking about this season because as a first-time mama, you can really fully devote your entire attention to this little tiny person. And I loved it. We read all the books, we did all the things. It came to be when he was about 2.5, 3 years old, I started looking into what I was going to be using for preschool, because I was just so excited to do this whole homeschooling thing, and I was excited to just learn alongside of him. I went down the route of choosing the homegrown preschooler for the tiny years, and I loved it. I've talked about it multiple times on my channel, but it is a very kind of like on-schooly type thing where it's all about kind of just learning where you are at in your home. So learning alongside the mama with my daily chores, things like that, but also being intentional. And you know, we're still working on all of our letters, but by the time he was 3, he kind of knew all the things. Like he knew his letters, he knew what sounds they made. He kind of was ready to jump into a formal preschool curriculum. So after doing more free range style of doing the homegrown preschooler and then teaching, of course, his letters and all those little preschool things and just little separate hands-on books and activities, I was looking for something with more structure, because even though, yes, I was homeschooled K through 12, I wanted something with a little more structure, because being homeschooled and then homeschooling yourself, I feel like is 2 totally different things. And even though I had experience with certain curriculums, I was going down a different route with wanting something a little more hands-on and nature themed. So I ended up landing on the My Father's World preschool curriculum, and oh my goodness, it was such an incredibly beautiful, rich experience. It was so fun. So I'm going to also rewind a little bit. By the time we started him in that preschool curriculum, that's fine, darling. By the time he was old enough to start in that preschool curriculum, he was around 4. But by that time, I also had my second-born, who was entering into the toddler years. They were about 21 months apart. So she was kind of learning alongside with him, like getting into all of the things, just enjoying the learning experience. And the reason why I'm going to start adding in like the kiddos and talking about like the experiences and how things change is because every season of life is going to mean that we're going to need to adapt and change like how we do things. Anyway, at this point in our homeschooling kind of preschool journey, he was full on into this amazing preschool curriculum. I say it's amazing because it really, really is. I'm going to insert clips of everything I'm talking about today so you guys can get an in-depth look. I still do have the teacher guides for the My Father's World preschool and kindergarten curriculum. I loved this teacher guide because, again, as a first-time homeschooling mama that was looking for more structure to get me started into this beautiful experience, it was incredible. It gave me so much detail on lesson plans, on exactly what book to do, what craft to do, what story to read, what Bible verse to do. It was just beautifully done. I love the early years for this curriculum. I really, really do. It's very Charlotte Mason-esque, I guess you could say. I ended up picking up the second set of the student activity sheets because my daughter wanted to do everything her big brother was doing. So we ended up grabbing that and to do alongside with him. And it was just so much fun. Hello. Do you want me to get you a snack? Come here. If you go back to the very beginning of my channel, I actually have most of my content centered around this curriculum. When my two oldest were teeny tiny toddlers and we were having so much fun. I will always hold that as such a fun memory for me because it was just me and then my preschooler and toddler. It was doable. We were learning together. We were doing all of the just incredible things that this curriculum offered. Anyway, fast forward another year, I now had a preschooler going into kindergarten, and then I had my little girl who was coming into preschool. I loved the My Father's World preschool so much that I ended up getting the full deluxe package again for kindergarten for him. I thought it was such a wonderful experience, and we again for the first part of the year had a wonderful time. For my daughter, we were doing alphaphonics, we were doing some basic pre-reading things, we were still working on like completing letter blends and things like that alongside of my son who is full on into the kindergarten stuff. We ended up switching him into the Christian Light education once he got into more advanced kindergarten and then his first grade. So that ended his kind of preschool experiences once we of course jumped into that. For my daughter, when it came to preschool, homeschooling her, I started her out with preschool. We did the Rudd and Staff little preschool workbooks, and I also did utilize some of the My Father's World pages because again, we had already purchased those to use alongside my son because again, she wanted to do everything her big brother was doing. But fast forward a little bit, we ended up getting, I think it was the Good and the Beautiful preschool. I do really enjoy the Good and the Beautiful's preschool. It is very soft and gentle while also being sound and really preparing them for kindergarten if you want something more structured. So I know structured workbooks and especially the preschool years can be a little bit controversial in the homeschooling world. So the way I like to look at preschool when it comes to this, because it tends to be a pretty hot topic in the homeschooling community, but the way I look at it is, of course, every single family is going to be very unique and different, and every child is going to be very unique and different when it comes to homeschooling in the preschool years. But in this one thought in particular that I wanted to share when it came to choosing what to do with my preschoolers, should I do formal curriculum, should I not? It all came to, like, really for me personally, it came down to, do I need something with structure or do I not? And it was that only question that I asked myself is, if I do need something with structure, that I am gonna look for a formal preschool curriculum, hence the My Father's World, and then hence the Good and the Beautiful preschool curriculum. It provided me that. If I did not feel like I needed the structure, and if I wanted to just kind of piece my own thing together, which we're gonna be talking about that coming up here in a minute, then I won't search for that formal curriculum. So for my daughter, she completed the entire preschool Good and the Beautiful. She really enjoyed that. And then we jumped into the CLE kindergarten, and that was kind of the end of her preschool curriculum, I should say. We only did one thing for her, and then she's been full on pretty much CLE up to this point, I believe. So the other thing I wanted to mention when it came to choosing a preschool curriculum is we 100% do need to cater to kind of our kids' learning styles, because I know, again, every child is so unique and different in how they learn. However, I also want to remind you, and I have to remind myself of this sometimes too, that we also need to choose what works best for us as the mama and as a teacher, especially in the little years. Like in the depths of the little years, we really also have to choose something that can work for us, because when I had my first preschooler, I was in the season of life where I could pour my entire life into his homeschooling. And part of that, the reason for me was it was my way of just like being very intentional with the connection, and I got to sit down and just be intentional with spending time with him, with communicating, with playing the games. And again, it's that first child that you just have such a close connection to, because again, you pour all that time into doing those things because they're the only child. The second child comes along and you now are balancing the time equally. At least when I was in that season of life of having my two, of having a preschooler and toddler, I was just like, I balanced them pretty equally, I thought anyway. But then you add in the third and it becomes a little bit of a juggling act. At least it was my personal experience, because now I had a kindergartner, a preschooler, and then I was going through extreme morning sickness with my third. And then when they were born, it kind of threw everything into a place in a season of life where I now had to go back to the drawing board and figuring out what to do and what works best for me now, because before I was really just catering to what exactly my kids wanted to do, what they were interested in, while also providing like the sound reading programs and all the sound things that we need to do to help educate our children, but also really fully relying on them and their learning styles to kind of guide me in what to choose for them, if that makes sense. But when things become unbalanced, like after you add the second and then you add in the third, then it becomes, okay, I need to find something that also works for me. That's when that was kind of like, I'm kind of rewinding and going all over the place. Sorry, I don't have any notes. I'm kind of just going off of memory here. But all that to say is that's why we ended up putting my preschooler, after she was done with The Good and the Beautiful, we jumped her into the CLE kindergarten 1 and 2, which she loved, but it was, again, it provided that open and go that I really needed in the busy season of life. And while it looked different than maybe my Firstborn kindergarten experience looked, it was still exactly what we needed in our life. And I also want to remind you that every single child that you add on, it's just going to be different. And I also am telling myself this, like that has to be okay as well. Like I can't do the My Father's World preschool and kindergarten with my third and fourth because I just don't have the time to do all the things and to really make it worth spending that money when I know I'm not going to be able to complete even half of the activities and half of the things. So every season of life is going to be different. And I honestly think that that's why I looked so fondly on my first experience, because we were able to do all the things and it's so beautiful, but it does not take away the value from where we are at now and what we do now. And that's something that I wanted to get across in like telling myself here as well. It does not take away from the value of like we still are doing things intentionally with my preschooler. While it looks so different than back then, I can look back and be like so thankful and appreciative for those memories, while also being thankful and appreciative for the season that we are in now. And it is very different, and that is 100% okay. So when it comes to homeschooling preschool now and where I am at right now, I again have done the unschooling. I've done the very hands-on, structured, 100% structure. I've done a little bit of like the workbook with some like eclectic learning in there. Hands-on. So I've done a little bit of both, I guess you could say, when it comes to different styles of homeschooling preschool. But where I am at now is I do need something still that has a little bit of structure just to help me as a mama be really intentional, because we're coming up with the third grade, second grade, still in the depths of doing all the language arts and the reading and the math and all of those skills that are necessary in order to move on to the next grade. So working on those intentionally with my two olders, while also knowing that I am going to need something with more structure, because I know I'm going to need something that is planned out for exactly what to do on each day. Not a plan, that's the wrong word I'm looking for, but more of just like a guide, so to speak, to help me like open it up. And I know that we're going to be doing building blocks day after day, but something simple, because I know that the attention span, and let's just be honest, the little tiny ears, the attention span is really only like 5, maybe 10 minutes. It's not long at all for them. And then once they get to be, 4 or 5, then it's easier. I just know for her, she's in the phase right now where she wants to do all the schooly things with her older siblings. And this is the other thing I'm going to mention as well, especially when it comes to homeschooling preschool. And that is, it really, like, if they want to do school, I would say go for it. Like, if they want to do all the workbook things, go for it. If they're not interested, that's okay. That's totally fine if they're not, because they're so little. But I know for her, she just wants to do everything that her two older siblings are doing. That's why the curriculum thing is probably the route we'll end up going down. So for the actual curriculum, I have a couple books picked out that I'm going to be doing with her, and I'm going to reveal those in my next video when I do my curriculum choices for preschool, and then also for first and second grade, which are undecided yet. So I'm still gonna be doing those videos anyway. For her, I ended up creating my own little curriculum for her. So I pulled in a lot of her favorite things. I'm gonna end up having four different sets when it's done. Anyway, the first one's almost done. So I'm gonna show you guys that in my next video. So you'll see exactly what we'll be doing with her. I have like a little Bible thing we'll be doing together. I also have a basic little kids math book that we'll be doing. So some simple things that are gonna help us be really intentional with bringing her alongside, making her feel big, and most importantly, honestly, just making her feel included. Because that's one of the biggest things when it comes to homeschooling preschool, is sometimes they just want to be included. And it doesn't even have to be a workbook. A lot of the times for her, I'll set her up with painting, but as long as she's right beside us, she's just happy as a little clam. So it depends, what the kiddos are like. That's just that's just been our experience, and we've done a little bit of everything. And again, I try to balance it between what they are interested in and what they want to do versus what really works best for me as well. Trying to find that balance while not doing just one and ignoring the other, if that makes sense. So that's what I believe you'll be seeing when we do our first and second curriculum kind of picks, as well as my preschool video, is you'll be seeing, and I'll be talking about too in those videos very specifically, why I'm thinking about certain curriculum, why I might possibly be switching some things, just because I am still working on finding the balance between what they genuinely like, while also knowing that I have to do what works best for me and them together as well, because we do have the temperatures of our home in our hands when it comes to homeschooling and when it comes to our personal relationships with our children. And so there's all those things to consider when choosing curriculum. It's not just focus on what the kids love, but it's also, we need to find things that they like, but we also need to find things that work for us. Anyway, I feel like that's a long rabbit trail, and I could like rattle on for a long time about like trying to find that balance, but that's where we are right now. Again, I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing with her exactly in my next video. The only reason why I'm not showing you in this video is because the little curriculum thing that I'm creating for her, I'm still like a few pages away from completing it, but it's just something that I know that she'll love, and I'm going to have available for you guys too if you want to print it off her. If you want like a free little preschool resource, you're welcome to do that as well. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at now, and it might change again in a couple of years when I have another preschooler coming up, but I also know that it's going to be in a different season of life, so it may look different. I might be able to do something more hands-on. She might not want anything to do with school in the preschool years, and who knows? Who knows what, life will hold in a couple of years. Anyway, I thank you guys so much for being here. Again, I will have that preschool video probably be my first curriculum picks type video coming out. And then after that will end up being my first, no, it's not first and second grade. I'm sorry. It will be my second and third grade. Wow. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And until my next one, you guys have a great day, whatever you're doing, and God bless.